everybody. This is Krista, and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot with special guest Andi.
Hi.
So we got this idea to do the hashtag 21 tarot questions put out by Lisa and Peggy Papez together from Dawn Michelle and Marlon and Teresa, because their video together was so much fun and we both watched it and we're like, oh my gosh. We should do this together so that we could see like if we can guess each other's decks, which I don't know. I think it's going to be a bit of a toss up, but we shall see. Should we just get right into it?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question is, what is the deck they'll have to pry out of your cold, dead hands?
Do you want to go first and show?
Yeah, I can show mine first. Do you have a guess?
I have, okay, so it's out of 3. Okay, so Adventure Time is one, or the Green Witch might be another, but I think the one you're gonna pick is Northern Animal.
You were right. Okay, yeah. So the deck they'd have to pry out of my cold dead hands is the Northern Animal. Shocker. But specifically the first edition. I was thinking about the Adventure Time Tarot too, but what I was kind of thinking in terms of this question and comparing those two is that this edition I can't get again.
Right. And it's so special. I've had that. I had the first and second, and there's something about the muted colors are so different from the other editions. The cardstock is so different.
Yeah,
So
it's one of those cardstocks. I don't know specifically what kind of linen it's printed on, but it like almost came feeling worn in. It just, oh my gosh, this version of it is just so special. And as much as I love the Adventure Time Tarot, I was like, okay, I could buy that again though. So that was sort of the deal breaker there, but I don't think this is a shocker.
But although you're very sentimentally attached to that, like that cardstock is terrible. Like for someone who is not in love with that deck, that cardstock is so thin and terrible. Like you have to be gentle with it if you want that thing to last.
Well, so I do have the new 3rd edition now, and the comparison of just like quality, it's night and day, which I'm very glad, because I actually mostly use that 3rd edition now, because you can even see like this is beaten up already. I mean, well, I've had it a long time, I guess, but anyway, what is the deck that you'd have to pry out of your cold dead hands?
So what do you think I picked?
Okay, so
I don't know if you'll get this one. I kind of keep this one. I love so much that like I don't even talk it. Like I don't talk it up that much.
Okay,
we have such like private relationship. This should be like with that hashtag with the deck crush. This is like we've got like maybe a secret affair going. Although you do know I have this deck and you know that I love it.
Okay, I am so excited. I know I'm not gonna guess right, but for anyone who doesn't know, Andi has quite the eclectic collection that I feel like there's even decks that you pull out that I'm like, I did not have any idea that you had that. My guess is,
it's because I'm now I know it's though. And keep the decks, like I don't rehome. I just like put it on the shelf. Like, and I'm like, you're okay if you hang out there for the next 5 years. And then I'll just pull it out and be like, oh yeah, I got that one.
Right. Which is so cool. My only guess is the way of the, I'm not saying that right. The way of the tarot tiles.
List. Yeah. But see, like that deck is the way the panda is like husband material, right? We've been together so long, like it's not an active love, it's such a passive love, you know?
Fair enough.
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
So I picked the Tiger Tarot.
Oh, okay.
This is fairly new, right? I got it maybe in the last month or so.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it so much. I feel like it's very me, I would say. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of and it just like one card says so much. You know what I mean? I don't know. I love everything about it. I think about it when I'm not using it. I don't, yeah. It's just, there's something about it.
That deck is so cool.
And it's kind of a little harder to get. Like, you can't just order it like on the website. Like, you have to message on Instagram and it will go away, I'm sure, permanently. So it's like, I know this one wouldn't be an easy thing to replace either.
Right.
And that makes a difference. But I love it so much. And every time she even posts like artwork on her Instagram, it's just incredible. Like, this to me is like my love for collage, like, to the next level. Like, this is it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So pretty.
Tiger girl. And I wouldn't even say tigers are like my thing. I mean, they're definitely not. You know, that's such a side point of the deck, but yeah.
Right. So cool.
So should we go to question 2?
Number 2. What's your guilty pleasure deck? So mine. Oh, so I guess I should say we didn't stick to specifically tarot decks, right? Did you pick some oracles?
I did. More at the end.
Okay.
But...
yeah, I think I've got more tarot, but we allowed for some oracles, and that is my guilty pleasure deck. It is the Witch's Familiar Oracle.
Perfect.
This deck is so bizarre. So bizarre. Oh my gosh, we're starting right with the first picture.
I mean, remember when you got on this TV deck kick like 6 months ago or so, right? And I was like, what are you? You're like, this is amazing. I'm like, this is not amazing. This is weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I got it and I was like, what? Like, why? Why do I like this so much? And that's still
so much.
How I feel about it. It makes no sense that I like it as much as I do. I mean, and it's no knock on the creators at all, but it's a cheesy deck. It's a really cheesy deck.
More than, you know, it's the style of it. It's like the combo of the images like framed in the window with all the stuff going on in the background, the font, the color choices.
Ugh.
It's just okay. And there's creepy cards and they're like that one. That's the creepy one.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
And then in the guidebook, there's all these like poems basically to start it off, and they all end with so mote it be.
So mote it be.
It's so wild. It's a wild ride of a deck, but it's something that I use so constantly, and I don't know why. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't even want to be using this all the time, but I can't help it.
Such good readings with that deck.
I have.
Like,
it really, I don't know. It's a good reader.
And I feel like that's unique to you, because when you pull cards for me, they are not saying the same thing.
No.
Like, oh my gosh, yes. And I'm like, okay.
Amazing. So that is my guilty pleasure deck. That is the Witch's Familiars Oracle.
Mine is actually directly related to you.
Oh.
In that it was yours. The Teddy Bear Tarot.
I almost picked this one out too.
Because this deck, okay, so the story is we were having like, sometimes we'll send each other decks to like rent out. Like, so it's like, I think I'm gonna like this one, but I want to make the investment. You're like, we're like, here, try mine, see how you get on, like, use it as long as you want, and then if you decide to take it. So you'd sent me the Teddy Bear Tarot to try, because you're like, you have to have this deck, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I love your OG bag and your edging. So it's kind of my guilty pleasure, because I was like the whole time being like, I hope I can just keep this one. Specifically this one with your edging and your bag. And, you know, it's completely an RWS clone. Completely.
Right.
And I don't read with it. Like, occasionally, I think one time when I was feeling like really something like down or sad or whatever, and you'll say to me like, get the Teddy Bear Tarot, and yeah, like I'll pull it out then. kind of prompted but like for everyday readings, I'm not using it. I just like to look at it. I like to know it's there. It is like literally like a teddy bear on the bed, you know?
Yes, that's exactly the reason I ever use it too. I've probably read with it maybe 3 or 4 times. Otherwise, I just so frequently just look at the cards.
It's just so cute.
It's so cute.
Like when I pull it out, like I pull it out now and I probably haven't pulled out for months and months and months. I'm not feeling like bad about that. I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad and I am not feeling like right now, like, oh, I have to use you more. I'm just happy it's here. You know, and that's enough.
Gosh.
That's enough.
I almost picked that one too. I came so close to picking that one.
It's so good. Look at him.
She's so cute. My favorite is the devil card in that. It's so funny.
It's so good. Okay, so question 3.
Okay, question 3 is what's the deck you wish existed? Now, I kind of went into a fandom direction in my brain immediately.
And I feel like most people did, right? Because that's
from what I've been watching, because I don't know, in terms of like the concepts for decks, I guess with that kind of thing, a lot of the times it's like, well, I didn't even know I wanted it until I see it.
Yeah.
And so, and plus I have such a love for my Adventure Time tarot that I'm like, I want every show I feel that way about to have its own special deck. So I actually do have something to show. What I would want is a Steven Universe tarot. And so I'm going to just show my Steven Universe Oracle, but which I do really love. This one is it's by Quarter Press, and they do a lot of fandom decks because I have their oh my gosh, the name of that show always escapes me.
And I have the little characters ones.
Yeah, you've got the extended version of this. This is one of the divination decks. So I love Steven Universe probably nearly as much as I love Adventure Time. It's just such a special show. I really identify with the character Steven. And I just feel like even if Quarter Press themselves made a deck or a tarot deck out of Steven Universe, I just feel like it would be really something special because I don't know, it's one of those shows.
That Gravity Falls one they have is so good.
Gravity Falls, that's what I was trying to think of. I love that one. They do a Gravity Falls one, and Over the Garden Wall they have a tarot of. And all the thing those shows all have in common is they do such a good job at really kind of examining sort of like human relationships and human nature kind of thing in this like show meant for kids, which is really cool. And so I think it would be a really cool tarot, and I'm just putting that into the universe and hoping
I think that's an entirely attainable dream.
I think so too. I just need to plant some seeds maybe. Yeah, so that's what I would want, a Steven Universe tarot.
So my answer is like a bit of a rant which I've had with you. Okay, so when you see a deck and you love it so much and the price is just so good, and then you look and it's a majors only.
Yes. Like, oh my god,
stop. Like, yes. And it's like I'm a finisher of all my projects, so it's like, and everybody's allowed to create a majors deck only, but I'm like, just finish the deck.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm visual. I printed out. So there's an Etsy shop called Kisses from Ibiza. Okay. And they have the coolest decks, but they're all majors only. Okay.
Oh.
So they have this one, which is the Bansky Tarot. Look at how cool that looks. I want them to finish that one. There's a Victorian tarot. I wish they would finish that one. There's a Frida Kahlo one. If they just finish their decks, they're gonna make like $500 on me, like that.
Right. I totally get that. There's like this. Oh my gosh, there was one that's like really fall Halloween themed that I love so much, and finding out it was majors only like crushed me because I loved it so much.
I mean, I suppose I could find a place to, you know what I mean? Like, but it can't, it's not just going to slot in the regular, pile. That I do have an
Yes.
exception to that, which I have a deck that, my daughter Emmy is going to be bringing back from England for me. The lady who makes the painted tarot made it's a majors only, but she combined like as if two major figures like got together and had a child, and then like that child is like the card of each one, and that I think is only like 22 cards or something, and that's the exception because that's a special thing, you know what I mean, that you could
that's
pull.
cool.
Yeah, so cool. I have made an exception, but currently I don't have any majors only decks, and yeah, it just makes me sad that it's so
totally get that.
So cool, and it's like I can't justify it because I know I just wouldn't use it,
Right. So. I totally get that. I've only ever had one, and funny enough, there was a Steven Universe majors only deck. I did have it, but I never used it, which I'm okay. Yeah. Like even this Oracle, I hardly ever use it, but I love Steven Universe, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold on to that. I think I gave that one to someone who like really, really, really wanted it, and I was like, it's just sitting here, and they'll get some joy out of it. But
and that's I feel the only one I've ever had. Majors only, it's like you're probably gonna use it in some special way or some special practice, and Steven Universe doesn't really fit in that.
No, it just didn't really work. Yeah. Alrighty. So. Our next question is, what deck would you give to a new reader? And my answer for that probably is going to be a very common answer. And it is the Everyday Witch Tarot. Yeah. I'm going to hold it here because I've got the mini. Which now I'm kind of like, ooh, like I did have a full size, and I actually want to say I did give that to someone. I don't think it wasn't a new reader, but I gave it to a friend who was interested in tarot. So I did have the full guidebook at one point, and it's really, really good. It's written by Barbara Moore, I believe, who writes such fantastic guidebooks. I really love all of her stuff. But I just feel like it's such a good beginner deck because it doesn't stray very far from the Rider-Waite-Smith, if that's the system, someone's wanting to learn, I suppose. But it also has this really kind of fun, whimsical element to it. And I feel like a lot of people, at least in my experience, when they're wanting to learn tarot, it's sort of like this combination of getting into this witchy realm as well. Doesn't have to be, but that's just my experience of when people want to learn. So I feel like this kind of gets that vibe really well. And again, the guidebook is just really, really, really good, I feel, for learning tarot. But my answer would also kind of just be any of the Llewellyn box sets. I just feel like they're all so great.
And if I had to pick one that because the one I'm choosing I don't have because I've given it away 3 times. I bought it 3 times and gave it away each time, which is kind of its purpose. But if I had to pick one that was in my collection, it would be the Halloween tarot that just came out last October.
Oh, the Trick or Treat tarot.
The Trick or Treat one, because it's like, those Llewellyn box sets are so, with the color images and the, it's just, and I think that like my deck also fits in the same category as that one, where it's like it's friendly, you know what I mean, there's nothing jarring about it, it's really friendly, almost like like you childlike in a way, but not aiming so so young, and you could, and just fun, because I think when we're wanting people to join the tarot club, it's because it's so much fun, and it's like fun. It is fun.
It is so much fun. I don't want to spoil yours. Are you about to show your deck though?
Which deck?
The one you made.
No, I'm not.
The tarot. Oh, okay. Because I was thinking about
that didn't even occur to me.
It occurred to me. So Andi has the Tarot of Feeling. What is it called? The ones with the words on the back.
The guided edition. Yeah.
The guided edition. So it has tarot meanings right on the back of it. Which is really fantastic really, I use it all the time. The only reason I didn't show it is because my version is in my coworker's desk at work right now.
And I feel like maybe that one would be like I know when I the last friend that I gave, the one I picked, like for like stage 2, I then gifted her the light seers. And I think maybe like my deck would be in that like kind of stage 2. Okay, like you know what you're doing. Like here's another deck to kind of that's gonna follow, you know, the regular system, but also showing you the meanings. And the new version of the guided edition is going to be bridge size, I think, which would be even nicer, you know, for learners to be able to take with them. So yeah. But the one that I picked is the Good Karma Tarot.
Oh my gosh. I had that one and also gave it away.
Yeah. I feel like this is like the perfect beginner deck. And it doesn't seem like it would be, you know, like when you first look at it, you know, look at the box. But and this is like the Amazon thing. It has 811 reviews and 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, so really everybody who gets it loves it, you know.
The book is so good.
Images are just they're, you know, and they're not, I feel like they're a little bit less kiddish than the one that you showed there. You know, they're a little bit more mature, but still cartoony and friendly. The guidebook has so much, like, and they like the majors have a full color image on one page, huge image, and then the minors have almost a little bit smaller than the actual card image, which I think is great. So then, you know, a beginner can just use the book and not have to use the cards constantly. But and I have seen the people I've given this deck to learn with this deck and graduate from this deck. And so yeah, so this is my number one, you know, beginner pick. And I feel like I'm always just going to keep bringing, and it's like $20, like $19, you know. So I feel like I'm going to keep bringing it in and sending it back out into the world.
So, what a good pick.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, there it is. $22.46. Bargain.
Perfect.
For somebody to bring tarot into their life, like that's, you know, that's money well spent. As far as I'm concerned.
Very true. Okay, so number 5 is, what deck do you want to get along with, but it just never clicked?
Okay. Which do you have the one you're showing?
I do, because for me, I am still trying. I
wonder if we picked the same one, but I feel like the one I picked, you're now getting along with it. Let's see.
I think I know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We tried with this deck together.
Yes. Okay. So the one I actually ended up picking is the Anecdotes Tarot. So this, I had the original version that was like the big cards. I tried so hard with that deck. I trimmed it. I tried to spend time with it, pulling a card each day, and it wasn't clicking. So then when I met Sandy, she was really, really searching for that deck because she knew Joanna Newsom is the musician that the deck is inspired by, and she really loves Joanna Newsom. So I was like, okay, as someone who does not know anything about Joanna Newsom, like, she's gonna get so much more joy out of this. So I ended up gifting that one to Sandy. Then the creators put the images up on, was it Make Playing Cards? I think it was Make Playing Cards. Regardless, she basically made them a free download if you wanted to upload them to Make Playing Cards or something like that yourself. And so I actually downloaded them and put the card name on there just in Canva, because that was always a thing for me where I was like, I never knew what card I was looking at. So I was like, all right, maybe that'll do it. But I've seen
you do a reading with this deck though, and you do all right. Like, you know, considering like that it is a hard read. And I feel like that one could be on my list too. And I'm planning to come back around to it this spring, summer, and take that musical element out of it and see how that works, because I think that ended up being a distraction for me, like thinking about the songs and all of that. So I'm going to try circling back around and taking that element out of it and see how that goes.
So that's what putting the names of the cards right on this deck really helped me do that, because now I can read it just sort of without any sort of guidebook or anything, but I don't know. I think I still don't reach for it. But now I'm wondering, is it because I got it printed as this like poker size? Maybe I needed to print it bigger, and I don't know. I can't really tell because it's artwork that I love so much. I really love this artwork. I didn't part with that original one for so long, totally because of that. And if it wasn't for like becoming friends with Sandy and just knowing that she would get so much more out of it, I wouldn't have parted with it. But
that
I don't know.
Favorite Justice card in it, where the one where she's like packing or unpacking her suitcase and deciding what to put in, and like it's so cool.
Yeah, and look at that the artwork is so pretty. It's just one of those things. I'm not giving up on it. I need to just we need to figure each other out. I think that's what the thing is. But
and I feel like the personalities in the deck too, like if you can create your own relationship with them, they are characters that you could relate to, you know?
Yes. Oh yeah, here's the Justice card.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. So yeah, that's my pick for the one that it still hasn't clicked, and that is the Anecdotes Tarot.
Can you guess which one I picked?
It's definitely for Haxa.
It's definitely for Haxa. It's man. And here it sits. I won't get rid of it because I do not understand why we're not getting along.
Yeah, that's like, entirely how problem? I felt too.
I don't feel like the problem is me. Like
I found doing a single card draw only from that deck is how it ended up working. It's almost like too much for me.
I have tried probably about 5 different ways. I've tried the single card draw and I just didn't really get enough from it to even make it worthwhile. Like it just doesn't speak to me. I don't even know that I like the Fae in this deck. I find them unfriendly. I don't think we get along. I feel like if I went into this village that they're in, they would be rude and kick me out. I don't feel welcomed into this world.
I do totally get that.
But I love the backs. I love the artwork. I love the theme. What's the problem here? That's the question. That's why it sits here till I figure out the problem.
I feel like I tend to have that with all of the MJ Cullinane decks I've tried so far. I've had this kind of problem.
I love the other one that
you do right
here. The
Urban Crow.
Not the Crow. The Urban Crow I really like. But what's
Guardians
the other one?
Of the Night.
Guardians of the Night. I love that one.
I love all of her art. That's what bothers me is that I'm like, I love her artwork. So I'm like, why doesn't it work?
The blue, now I'm looking like maybe it's the gray or blue and blue faces.
Maybe.
I don't know, but that feels kind of prejudiced. I like you with the blue faces. Oh, I don't know. This one's cool, but then I feel like they kind of scare me.
Yeah, I get that. It's a little unsettling.
Yeah. I don't know. So this deck, it's a bit frustrating, but
it is when that happens.
You really want to bond and you're like, I'm trying so hard here. What's the problem? And like I did this cool edging, and I trimmed it to my favorite size. It's like trimmed. I've really tried so hard. Like
you have tried really hard.
I tried so hard and I'll continue. I feel like I'm going to probably at some point say, like, let's give it another try. Like, this is like the toxic relationship that you just keep coming back. You're being mean to me again. So, all right, it's good. And now I'm just like mad at it that I don't even keep it in a bag. It doesn't even deserve a bag. I literally get out naked. And you know how I feel about that. That gives me like such anxiety.
Yes.
But I don't even, because I don't want to forget about it. So I know if I put it in a bag, like I won't remember, whereas if I keep it loose. And like, I don't have this, like if I lose a card, oh, well, like,
there's my sign.
To work through.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, So number 6 is, what deck do you only keep for the art? And for me, this isn't really a fair assessment of this deck right now, but I couldn't really think of any other deck that I only keep for the art. So currently, it's Listeros Celtiques. Now, I saw this on Joniki's channel, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And like, stand by that still.
It is. It's cool. It's really cool.
But it is not in English. And
that deck, you're gonna have to like take time off work.
Yes, truly. Like, that's what it feels
2
like.
weeks with just it. Like, there are so many elements to learn.
That's the thing, is that not only is it not in English, but it's like not in a usual tarot system. So translating it has proven really, really difficult. Like, there's a full guidebook, and I've been going through and doing Google Translate, but I don't know, it just, because obviously Google Translate's not going to translate perfectly, it's still like I can't wrap my head around what's going on. And I don't know, it's almost one of those things where I feel like I need to accept that it's going to be really slow going and almost just pull one card and let it sit there until I get it.
Like a month.
But it's so beautiful. Like, the artwork is so beautiful. So it's one of those things where...
Do you think that it's worth the, like, you'll invest the time because you love it so much? Do you think you'll get there with it?
I think I don't. So just because of my own attention span, I know I won't sit there and like, I tried sitting and just translating it all straight out at once. I think though that I will be able to, like I said, just pull a card and just let myself spend time with the one card until I understand it. And just, I almost feel like I need to get a notebook for this deck or something and just let it be slow going, because it is so beautiful and I do love the art so much. And from what I can understand of the concept, it's really cool, that I think that will definitely be worth it to me. But
and when you pulled that one card, did you feel like the message was good? Like, you know, when you did actually decipher it, like, is it a good reader?
Oh, I haven't done that yet. I have not done that yet. This really, like, I tried to, again, I started from like the first card and tried to translate it out. And what I did translate of that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But
and I
since
think
I was trying
like
to do
the cardstock too is really satisfying.
Yeah, it's almost like watercolor paper. But for now, it's here for the artwork, and that's okay. But that's a good one. Listeros Celtiques.
So I don't think you'd ever guess the one that I picked. It's my feline rider. This deck is so beautiful. The artwork is so good. But when you get beyond that element, it's just a RWS clone with cats.
Yeah.
And look at the backs. And it shuffles amazing. The gilding is so good. And it's so pretty. But if I want a cat deck, I have other more favorite cat decks. And so I never really would read this deck, but I will never get rid of it because I just love looking at it. I love touching it. Like the cardstock is really nice to just handle. Just makes me happy just looking at it.
I love the style of the cats too.
Yeah. And when I got this, it was a Kickstarter. They sent like postcards that made like this landscape image that I actually have up in the living room. So I see this deck a lot, the images in this deck. And the story kind of follows the fool, this landscape painting of the fool like walking away from their parents. It just really cool. And the artist, I think it's a Thai artist that this deck printer met randomly and just in this like marketplace. I'm I'm condensing the story down and probably retelling it not accurately, but and they didn't want any credit like on the deck, so the artist name isn't even on the deck, and it's just like if you went to some random, you know, artist marketplace in Thailand, you might find their work, you know. And I don't know, that element of it is just really cool to me.
That's love the fascinating.
I feel like on my the backs of my animal guide tarot were definitely inspired by the frame in these cards.
Oh yeah.
Because I love how it's framed in this like really subtle gold line, you know, which does something in when I'm looking at it. And I don't know, that's, yeah, I just love looking at it. And yeah, that's it.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I always randomly remember you have that one, and I'm like, oh, that one is so pretty.
It is so pretty, and it shuffles. I mean, I just like shuffling. It's one of those cardstocks that it's like quite thinny, you know, like it's thinner, but it's like oh, Mary took a dive. Get back up. It's like thinner, but it's like, and it's like matte. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so number 7 is, what deck did you buy because everyone else did? Oh. And this is a recent one. Well, recent-ish, I guess. For me, that is the Legend of the Arthurian Tarot. I think this one, this was one that was out of print or something, right? Oh, I don't know. What?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's true. I kind of feel like it seemed like this like came back though, because I know this is a different edition of it that came out recently. And I remember seeing on Candy Soul and Soil's channel that she was doing the Hollow Quest that comes in the big book for this deck, which is so neat. And so this kind of had it's like a big resurgence with everyone right before. Ooh, I am knocking this all around. Maybe in like February or so. And I just love the artwork so much. I loved the idea of the Hollow Quest. Any kind of deck that's gonna provide some sort of special journey, I am all there for. And so I didn't really know too much about this. I know some of the story, but not really too much of it. So it was one that I kind of got because I was like, everyone was really excited about it, and I was just loving that excitement. So it's not a regret by any means. I haven't ended up really actually doing the Hollow Quest so far this year, just because I don't know, there's just been so many different practices going on.
I've been kind of roughly still following the Hollow Quest. And I feel like it doesn't go deep enough for me. Like the cards that it's making reference to, you almost have to like go away and research on your own. Like it's not guiding you through that. And it seems more focused on the like kind of meditation with the card and the, you know, the path working with the card. But I think it's a good one. I didn't see like everybody else have this deck and wanted just you. That's
yeah, no, I think it was a lot on Facebook. I saw a lot of people getting it on Facebook. But yeah, I think I almost need to detach the Hollow Quest idea for now and let myself just use it as a tarot deck. I just know I'm not going to be doing that Hollow Quest anytime soon. But it's a cool idea. But that is definitely the one I got because everyone else was getting it, and that's the Legend of the Arthurian Tarot.
So mine is, and I have it in this tin. I should just open it here. So this is my little travel tarot. So last year, towards the middle end of last year, I was doing a lot of traveling. And so I was bringing decks with me. And the first trip I brought way too many and used one. And then like the second trip I bought a few less. And then the last trip I brought just one. And it was this one. And I only use it when I'm like traveling. I have the little size, which is so fun.
Cool.
Bridge size. It's the Wild Unknown. And this was a deck where like everybody seems to have had it or like likes it, and I didn't really get it. And aesthetically, this is the style deck I like. Like this, you know, this is definitely in my wheelhouse. And I don't know why I wasn't excited about it or drawn to it. And I guess I'm still not. But when I use it, when I bring it as the only deck, it gives really good readings. And I do like it,
Cool.
a lot for that. So I just felt like I needed to give it a try, and I'm glad I did. And and I'm glad I have this one for sure.
Yeah, that's one I've never actually tried, and I've been kind of curious.
I think that you would actually get along really well with it. Because it's got a lot of that animal energy,
Yeah.
And I don't know, it kind of reminds me of, like, it's got that animal flair that you like, but also like, like some of your like Marseille decks that you like stylistically are kind of like this. And it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So yeah, I think, and it's so cheap, like for this little one, like it's worth just getting it to see, like look at that card.
Right. That is, that's a good one. Oh, cool. That was a good pick.
What are we on? Question number 8.
Oh, yes. So, okay. So I don't actually have anything to show for this one. I didn't print out pretty pictures. So what deck is over your head or just baffles you? So the one I picked for this is, I feel like I picked it just because it was somewhat topical. And for me, that is the Tildwick Tarot. I never really paid much attention to it because it was so out of print that I was like, well, like, I'm not going to be able to get it, so I'm not going to really look into it. I love hearing people talk about how much they love it, but it recently went up for a pre-order for the special anniversary edition, so I was like, oh, okay, let me look into it now because I can get it. And I've been watching a bunch of flip-throughs, and I feel like there's something I'm missing. Like, I just don't get it. I can see what I hear people talking about who really love it is it's almost this like immersive experience.
Yeah.
Which I can definitely appreciate, but I think for me the artwork is really almost like out of focus. Like, I don't want to say the word muddied. I don't mean that in any like bad way, but it almost hurts my eyes when I've seen it on the screen.
Dingy.
And I'm like,
it reminds me of like a dingy, like all the rooms are not well lit.
Yeah, and so I feel like I already know that if I laid a couple cards out, I'd be like, ugh, I can't take this in. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Like, when that deck came out, that was such a new concept, right? Like, having not people in it. But since then, now there's a lot of decks that have done that and done it really successfully. Like, almost the walking meditation is the one you have. It's like that in some ways. The spacious tarot is like that in some ways, although it's not enclosed spaces, but there are others that have done that with enclosed spaces that, have done it in kind of a bit more of a modern way that maybe speaks to our style a little bit better.
Yeah. So that was my pick for the one that baffles me, the Tildwick Tarot.
The one that baffles me, you gave me, and we're still working on getting along. It's the Rust Belt.
Oh, yes.
What the heck?
That one confused the heck out of me.
It's so confusing. So you've got the majors are like this. The minors do something different. What is going on here? And then the courts are just like a different deck. Like, did I just open the literary tarot or something? Like, in the courts? It's so weird. I mean, but we're still trying. It baffles me, which is a really good word for how I feel about this deck. And
doesn't the book only go through the majors?
Yeah, I brought
That's
the book.
That's what confused me about
it. I brought the book because the book makes it even worse. So my next go around at trying to figure this out is to just not use the book. The book is basically his story, like his take, right? About not even the card, it doesn't feel like, just like his journey through the woods. So then you're reading and reading, and then maybe there's some reference to the card that he's talking about at some point, but you're well invested. Like, it's a little chapter for each major. That's too much. Right. And I think maybe it's because it's not a subject area that I'm particularly interested, like walking the wilderness, whatever, that it's just like, by the end of reading it, I'm really no closer to finding the interpretation of the card.
Right.
And then also this movement in styles, it just baffles me. That's just a great word for this deck.
That was a good pick. I forgot about that deck.
But I'm going to, one day, I'll be like,
someday.
This is the deck that baffled me, but then it suddenly clicked, and I'm just like, we're going.
Okay, so the next question, number 9, is what deck surprised you?
I'm excited about this one.
I am too, actually, which is really interesting. So this is one that, like, very recently, it's like we've gotten each other, and that is the Practical Magic Inner Witch Tarot. Yeah. So I backed this on Kickstarter, and I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah. This was such a roller coaster of emotions.
It was a roller coaster. So then it came in, and I don't really do many unboxings anymore, but something, because I knew we were going to get we did get a bunch of special little add-ons and stuff with the package. So I was like, oh, I'm going to film an unboxing. So I did, and I was so negative.
I have never seen you be that underwhelmed and kind of immediately negative about a deck.
Yes, it's honestly never happened to me before.
Feel like it's the disappointment because you were so excited about it.
Yeah, and then I don't know.
Tell me what happened next.
But then, I don't know what happened, because I had this immediate negative reaction to it, and I was so sad. But I was like, you know what? It also, like, I mean, as happens with printing processes, it took longer than expected. So we were supposed to have this in the fall time, and we got it more towards, or definitely like in the winter. So I was like, all right, we're just going to hold on to it until fall and see what happens then. But then Marlene started this whole, what's it called? Oh my gosh.
Deck and walk.
Oh my gosh. Deck and walk. And that immediately both Andi and I jumped on board, and we've been doing it. It's been so cool. And I wanted to have cards displayed all the time, because lack of object permanence, I'm not going to remember we're doing it unless I leave cards out. And so I was like, all right, what deck do I have right now that I don't mind, that I'm not really going to use right now, so I don't have to keep like putting the cards back in and then pulling them back out. And I was like, oh, I've got
and you really chose that deck because you didn't even you're like, fine, just go there because I'm not going to use it.
Truly, because I was like, I'm not getting rid of it, but I'm not
reason for it to get up on the altar.
I was so bratty about this deck, like so bratty about it. So I was like, all right, I'm not getting rid of you, but I'm not using you right now. Like, I'm not doing it. So you're going to be the display deck. And since using it as my deck in displays, I have completely fallen in love with this deck, and I still haven't done a reading with it. It's just that I am looking at the cards as part of my deck and walk, and I'm like, this is so cool. There's so much to these cards in such like pared down images, and the way it, like, I think it was like the black background at first. I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Like, I don't like that. And now I'm like, no, this is it. Like, this is the moment. So that is my deck that surprised me. It's the Practical Magic Inner Witch Tarot. It's so good. It's so cool.
I feel like it deserves a medal for the roller coaster ride you
Truly. It's just about the only deck that I have put through a roller coaster. Like, I was so mean to it. I'm so sorry.
Adventure Time and it are like chatting on the shelf, and like Adventure Time is like, oh my gosh, she's so cool. And then she's like, this one's crying, and so she was so mean. That's what happens in my world. My text chat on the shelf. So my one I just got recently, which was the Beatles tarot.
Oh yeah.
And my reason for getting this was my husband is a musician and loves the Beatles and has forced me to watch every documentary ever made. And he likes to tell stories. And so he's given me such a history of a band that I probably wouldn't even really be that interested in on my own. So it's like, fine, I'm getting your Beatles tarot. You like him so much, you know? And the backs are cool. And what a surprise this deck turned out to be. It's just, I mean, it's aesthetically just nice to handle. It's the cards are a little bit larger. I don't know, it just feels good. Um, the the minors are all each of them is a different beetle, which is cool. So it's kind of like their story within it. But then the guidebook is incredible. It goes into like their history, um, the reasoning behind the images, and it's like you could pull one card and get so much out of it. Um, and I just did not expect this from this deck at all. I expected it to be pretty pictures that were fun to like do a reading for my husband, and that's it. And but I don't know. I feel like in a year I'm going to be saying that this is a favorite. Like I have the guidebook here too. And it's just so good. It goes into so much detail. So
that one is really cool. What you showed in the guidebook was like so
yeah, which is let me see if I can find the one. The wands are sticks, and of course that's Ringo. So being the drummer, and let me see if I can find his card because that's the first card that I pulled. It was the page of, and the fact that I can remember that too, you know, that the card I pulled, you know what I mean? It stayed with me, that message. And I don't, there's something about it that's just, it's just so good. And it just such a surprise for a deck that seems on the surface that it would be just, you know, a bit of fun, you know?
Right.
Here's the one that I pulled, the page of sticks, and it goes into detail about Ringo's like going out into the world of fame, but then also like his poor childhood and how like kind of what a struggle that was, and these two different personas both like committing suicide in a different way. I mean, and I'm like, this is just the page of sticks. Like what else have we got here, you know?
Yeah.
And I pulled a card for Robin who I thought like knew everything, and there's stuff in this book that he didn't even know,
So
like
cool.
history. And yeah, so incredible, such a great job. It's on Etsy. I feel like I should like promote it a little bit because it's like it's so good.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So that is my surprise, and a real surprise. Like I wasn't, do you remember I wasn't even going to show you guys. I was like, I kind of embarrassed.
Yes, yeah.
The Beatles Carol, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had a moment with this deck.
That the book is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, number 10. What deck doesn't really work for you, but you keep it because it's a collectible? So mine, again, for right now, because I'll circle back around eventually, I'm sure, is the Terra Volatile. This, I don't know. This is another one. What?
I've been thinking about getting that one.
It's a really cool deck. It really is. I almost think we're having kind of a break right now because I think it's just, I went into using this deck knowing how many layers there are to it if you want there to be.
Yeah.
And I think it just got overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the deck it's got a really intense energy to me. And so it was one that it was just like, I don't really know the right place to use you, like the right situation to use you. But it's like I can't rehome it because I know it really has this sort of, I don't know, collectible-ness to it, if that makes sense. Like I know it's not really, I don't know what makes a collectible deck per se. But this has that feeling to me where I'm like, even if I don't read with this again, I want it around because I just think there's something so interesting about it. And even if it's like a year, 5 years down the line that we finally have our moment. It's gonna come, you know, I just know it. And there is actually the full set, the guidebook, I should say, the printed guidebook is on pre-order right now. And I'm kind of thinking of getting that because maybe just having a printed version of that guidebook will help. I don't know. It's just, I think we need to figure each other out. But regardless, it does feel like a special deck because you can't always get it.
Yeah.
So it's almost kind of like, I think, built up to be this bit of a, oh, and I do have the Misery Collector without the M. Apparently that is special now. I don't know. I just think know. I did get the expansion pack with this deck and chose to keep this one in just because I thought it was so funny that this card that was meant to be so intense, like Death being the Misery Collector, but then it's missing an M. Like, I just thought that kind of like lightened it a little bit.
Say something bad to you and like then stumbling over their words.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. So it added this levity to it that I just loved. So yeah, I don't, even looking through this now, I'm like, ooh, I should bring this one out. It's just been sitting on my shelf as decoration basically because I'm like, it's not one I'm ever gonna rehome because it feels special in that kind of collector way. But
and I've heard that a lot of people have really gotten on with that deck. Like it's like one of their favorites.
Everyone loves it, I feel like. And it's again, it's one that I don't dislike by any means. And I'm just convinced that we're gonna have our moment. And when we do, we do, you know? So that is my one that right now I keep because it's a collectible, and that's the Tarot Volatile.
So I actually grabbed two. I had one out and then we were talking about the other one and I was like, oh, that's one too. So the first one is the Fantastic Menagerie.
Oh yes.
I feel like I know that if this wasn't a Baba Studios deck and it wasn't on such nice cardstock and it didn't have the, you know, the specialness about it, this deck would have been gone.
Oh, like, I feel
if this was a mass market deck, if this was a mass market deck, there's no way I'd be keeping it around. But I just keep it around because I have the Victorian Romantic, I have the Alice deck, and it's part of the collection. It's got a box, you know.
That was just a good pick. I totally could have picked that one too.
I really love, as like the Queen of Swords being kind of my significator. I like her.
She's good.
I do like her. Yeah. So, I mean, and this could also fit under that kind of just keep it to look at the pictures, you know, because it almost does feel like one of those old gold edged, like little children's books that I had as a kid, you know, that I just open it and look through the pages.
Yes.
This one's good too. The Ace of Swords. I think the Sword Suit is strong in this deck.
It is. It's funny you say that with the children's books. Like, it reminds you of looking through one because that's exactly why I keep it. Because I'm like, okay, I'm a children's librarian. It feels like part of that almost to me. So that's why I kind of keep mine around as well.
And the other one we were just talking about, because there's I think a pre-order out for this, but not the same creator. And I have it in a special Moonlit Fae bag. It's I never use this. I really don't. In the summer, sometimes, but I feel like it's one of those that I only use because I have it, and I should use it, you know, because I have it. But it doesn't really matter because I still enjoy it so much. I like knowing she's there. That's it.
Yeah.
You know? And,
such a good one.
It is a bit of a collectible because it's not available anymore.
Right.
You know, this version. And we talked about like this other version is coming out or on its way. And I'm not going to get that one. I'm happy with this one. And, you know.
Yeah, I kind of decided against that one too because I've got the tiles, the Hilda tiles.
But I mean, it's just fun to have, right? And
it's such a fun one.
Part of the kind of collectible nature, not the fact that I'm going to be using it to read all the time, you know,
right.
And I don't feel like she particularly reads that well. She just reads okay, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hilda.
Good pick. Okay, the next one's well, easy one in terms of I feel like there's not that much to show. And it is
one.
What deck is your favorite gilded deck? So with this one, I just kind of went with like, what's my favorite kind of gilding?
Okay.
But I mean, I do love this deck, so that is also why I selected it. But for me, this is the oh my gosh, what's it called? Guidance of the Goddess. I always forget what this one is called. Guidance of the Goddess. But it's got this matte gold gilding on it that is just, if a deck's going to be gilded, this is what I want, because it's not going to chip. It's not going to hurt your hands when you're using it. And it's something where it's like, I feel like people add gilding on decks to make it feel a little bit more special and luxurious. And I feel, to me, like this is the only kind of gilding that actually does that, actually gives me that feeling.
And I feel like a big part of that deck is the special, like the feel of the cardstock.
Yeah, it's such a good quality.
So nicely, the quality of it really, brings something to the table with that deck.
Yes. So that is the Guidance of the Goddess, but again, kind of to show this kind of matte gilding.
Well, I'm a little surprised that you didn't pick the same one I picked, because it's the Seeks Arcana. It's pink. It's bright pink.
It is good, but it does hurt my hands. It hurts my hands.
It hurts your hand. I felt like this didn't hurt my hands.
Like, it's not the worst thing in the world.
I don't know. I just had to. This is definitely the most unique gilding in my collection. And it's not like the cheap mass market shiny gilding, like hurt your hands like that. I wonder if it's because it's got more square corners too that it's getting you.
Yeah, I do think so. It doesn't feel the same as shuffling, right? Like one of the rock pool oracles with the gilding. It's not the same as that, but
yeah. So that's my pick.
Such a good one. Which deck do you love but hate the cardstock? Easy. This one was easy. The Dark Goddess Tarot.
Yeah.
Which Andi has an Andi of now.
Yeah, because I hate the cardstock so much.
It's the only thing. So I still use this deck all the time because I love it. And I think the only thing that sort of saves it for me in that way is that I'll only do a single card draw from this deck typically. So having to do a weird shuffle to pull one card, like I feel like it gets shuffled enough. But the cardstock is so bad. It's so bad. It's this thick, shiny.
It's so shiny.
It holds the shape of shuffling in the weirdest way. Like I don't know if you can see what it's bent like up here. It's so crazy. I don't know what happened there. I clearly scratched it.
And how could you with 2 inches of gloss? Like that seems impossible.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how I managed that. But it's such an amazing deck it's just about, because to me the tactile experience of cards matters a lot. It's not always like really necessarily that I'm like a cardstock snob. I've got plenty of glossy decks that I really like as long as they're easy to handle. This is just about the only deck I feel like I have that is so unwieldy, yet I use it constantly.
And that really put me off using it altogether for like until
I totally get it.
Because but there were other things that bothered me. Like I really don't like the backs. Like I have a really strong dislike for the backs. I have a very strong dislike for like the clip art titles, really. And it's like one of those things once it started bothering me, it really bothered me. And then
I definitely get it.
And then with that on top of the cardstock, and does it have gilding?
Yes. It's got sharp.
It's the sharp gilding.
Yeah, so that is definitely my pick. It's the mass market Schiffer, right? Dark Goddess. Yeah, it's Schiffer.
Come on, man. Schiffer.
They just don't get it. They don't get it.
So, mine is I have an honorable mention just because, but I felt like I shouldn't pick this one because I have at length, and so has everyone else, gone on about the textured tarot. So that's definitely an honorable mention. Please change cardstock and textured tarot. It's terrible. But this is the one I picked, the Red Seed. You've handled this deck. It's not as thick as the textured tarot, but it's getting there. And the cards are huge, which makes it like impossible to shuffle. Like you got to be concentrating. You can do the side drop shuffle quite successfully. Doesn't that look satisfying? There's no way like you could even rip. Like I have huge hands, but like
oh my gosh,
it's like they don't need to be like they really don't, because the art isn't particularly busy. They could be regular size and they could be on thinner cardstock, which, and I scanned this deck in, or you scanned it in for me, and put it on cardstock that I liked just so I could use it because I love it so much. I love this deck. Hate the cardstock so much.
Oh yeah, I know. And it's such a shame because it is such a cool deck.
It's such a cool deck. Yeah. So that's it. Definitely the winner every time for the worst cardstock in my collection. Congratulations.
You won.
You won.
Okay.
Again.
So question number 13 is, what deck gives you the willies? I was so excited about this one, and this one's not going to shock you because you feel the same. It is the Sacred Rose Tarot.
It's like, it's so weird.
So I got this deck while I was out with my friend Matt, and I don't know what drew me to it. I had never seen it before. I think it was mostly that I had never seen it before, and I was like, I need to buy this deck.
I think purely because it spell on you.
Oh my god, it really did. I was like, I am feeling weirdly drawn to it, and like I feel like Andi hasn't seen this either, and we need to know. Like, we need to know.
Show them close up. Bring them up to the camera so we can.
Oh yes, you can see the eyes. So the thing that gives me the willies about this is that they all have these empty eye sockets. It's so crazy,
and they're looking at you directly and confrontationally.
They are, but immediately this deck gave me such amazing readings for myself, and I did a reading for Matt, and we both were like, ooh, like, why is that so spot on? It's spot on in a way that feels so creepy. And I showed it to Andi, and Andi was like, what the heck did you buy? But I brought it on the trip
and then I bought it.
Salem, and then she was convinced, and she bought it too.
I do. There's and I'm so mean to this deck. I like when I pass it in my looking for my tote, I'm like, creep. It reminds me of that like creepy guy, who's been following you on Facebook and knows way too much about you. Yes. And you don't really know how he got all this information or what his intention is.
It gives the best readings, but in like creepy. The most unsettling way. This deck actually, it sits in my purgatory bin. And I'm not getting rid of it, but I'm like, you can't be around my other decks. You can't. No. I'm not letting it happen. Oh, it's just, oh my god,
like
it gives
one
me.
Of these where you would like send it off to be rehomed and then go back to the basket and it's still in there.
Yeah, or like something would happen where I get it returned to sender or something.
Like months later.
Oh my gosh,
on the side of the road after you tried to get rid of it.
It's so scary. It's so scary. That is the Sacred Rose Tarot. That's my pick.
All right, my pick is the Olive Dancin'.
Oh yeah, ooh!
This deck is intense, man.
It is.
So, and every time I touch it, it's like chewing on tinfoil. Like it's that like powerful, like I don't know,
like a visceral reaction.
Yeah, like, but at the same time, I've had some really good readings with this deck, but this is a deck that you don't come into the space lightly. When you're gonna, when I'm gonna do a reading with this deck, I'm making the time and space to do it, and I'm taking it seriously.
Yeah.
So although it does give me the willies, and it's got that intensity, I feel like it is maybe because it is just like reaching this higher plane, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wants to be taken seriously, so it's not like your one with the like creepy stalker way, but just the intensity of it gives me the willies, so there's that one. I want to put it away now so I can get my body back.
Good pick. So the next one is, what's your favorite deck for shadow work? And mine is, not that the deck is boring, but I feel like boring pick because it's like, yeah, that is a shadow work deck. I feel like for most people,
the reclaim.
It's the Samia Tarot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't go in a shadow work or an oracle direction with this, because I've got like 3 oracles that I use for shadow work that are just kind of on rotation, that it's like I love them all equally. So I couldn't pick. But when it comes to and really honestly, when I'm doing that kind of reading, it's the oracle that's carrying the reading.
Yes.
And then tarot is the support. But when I was thinking of the tarot deck that is my favorite to go to for that, it's always this one. I don't feel like I really have another deck that feels so truly shadow work and like that's all that's happening in there.
And this deck is so interesting because I think that most people would put it in that category, but for you there's that kind of like childhood element to it, where it was the pictures were taken and all of that, and that kind of adds to that experience.
Yes, it totally does, because whenever there's pictures with the ocean and things like that, it's like I've been there. I grew up like probably not even 10 minutes from it, so it's like this weird thing of like, ugh, like I know that really well. Uh-oh.
What you got to work on that happened there.
Yeah. So that is my favorite shadow work deck, the Somnia Tarot.
I picked an obvious, and this I'm gonna when we got the list, this is the one that I was like, can I do Oracle? Because I don't know that I have really any tarot that I use specifically, but I picked the Shadow Speak.
Love that deck.
And when I first got this deck, for the first year we were together, I didn't like it at all. I still don't. You know how I feel about it? Like I even colored in the cards to try and like, maybe the problem is that you're black and white. No, it wasn't. I just didn't. The artwork doesn't really speak to me in that way. Aesthetically, I don't enjoy it, but I think that that's part of the reason that it's so effective. Because the artwork doesn't take me in a real, I don't know, in a direction where I'm like, oh, I love the artwork so much. It's just speaking to me directly, and it reads so well.
That makes sense.
It's undeniable, no matter what it looks like. I mean, because I think that when you're doing shadow work, you need the message to come through. And it definitely does every time with this deck, although it did take it like a good year and a half to really win me over and get me to listen, you know?
Yeah, that one, I love that one.
Yeah.
So good. Good pick. All right. So 15? Our next question, we're up to number 15 already. What deck do you love in theory, but not in practice? And
I don't have this one to show. I did have it.
Oh, you do? You have it to show, or you have a picture?
I don't have it to show or a picture, but I have had it. Go ahead. You go though.
Okay. So mine is the Magical Nature Tarot, which makes me really sad. This is one.
That makes me sad too.
I know. I'm not by any means, again, not giving up on this one. This is, so the reasons I love it is because it's made by creators who are pretty local to me. I love the process of the art with these like natural pigment ink things. I don't know what you call that, but it's so cool. It's made really naturally, down to the cardstock is on this like eco cardstock that is so awesome. And the whole concept I really love. I really love the creators. They're so nice. I won, Andi won a giveaway actually, but already had the deck. So she had it sent to me instead. And like the whole experience of talking with the creators was so positive. But I think it's just the way the figures are in this deck doesn't work for me. Like the human figures.
Collage deck fan. I don't think there's a lot of collage decks in your collection. And this is definitely, although a little bit different, still collage.
Yes, that's a good point. I'm not really typically a collage deck person, and there's something, I think it's also like the way the colors are muted in this deck isn't my favorite. I don't know. There's something, it's really about how
it's so earthy.
Well, that's why I love it in theory. It's like it feels like it represents all of the things I want to do. It's truly the way that humans appear in this deck. Like aesthetically, it just, something about it really doesn't do it for me. But it's one that I'm not gonna, it's gonna stay because it could have its moment. Who knows,
I wonder
but for
if
right
you try and
now,
take it outside with you in the summer in the
yeah, no,
mud.
that's a good point. I should try to take it outside, but for right now, that is my deck. That love it in theory, not in practice. It's
Yeah.
the Magical Nature Tarot.
My pick is Spirit Keepers.
Spirit Keepers.
The Benabel one. Is that what it's?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I had the deck for like, I don't know, a good couple of years. I read the entire book. I really invested time in it. And in theory, I should like it, and I liked the images and everything, but I felt like it just was trying to teach me way too much all at once, and
Yeah.
trying to teach me things that I wasn't particularly interested in learning. So in theory, it as a deck, it has everything that I would love, but just in practice, it just didn't go in the right direction, for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seemed like there was like a lot going on in that one.
Oh, so much. So much, which is such a treat. But you have
Right.
to be interested in learning that,
Right.
And I don't know. It didn't
Yeah,
do it.
I get that
Unfortunately, it
one.
did make me kind of sad.
Okay, next we've got, what deck would you never use to read for someone else? For me, that is the Pythonic Tarot. Now,
Really?
yeah, it's not even necessarily because I have this feeling of like, oh, it's like I just want to save it just for me. I really enjoy this deck. But it's not, I don't really have that feeling about any of my decks, honestly, that I wouldn't use it for someone else. This one, it's truly because it veers so far from any usual system I know. And so you have to use the guidebook. And
Yeah.
there's so much for each card in the guidebook that I'm like, if I imagined myself doing a reading for someone else, the explanation and like backstory that would have to go in before I even got to the reading would just be way too much.
And
So
I worked intensively with that. And I should like write us a little condensed guidebook.
well, but I love the guidebook. It's not to
Yeah.
say that. When I'm reading it for myself, I love it. I really love this deck and I love what the creator has to say. So it's nothing even about that, but it's like I'm just picturing my head like sitting across the table for someone and being like, okay, so before we get into the reading, I got to read you these like 4 pages of text. And it's
Give
just
me
like
5 minutes. I feel
have
with that
plenty of
guidebook, it's
decks I
like
could use.
there's too much. There's too many things. There's too many options. Like just pick a direction.
Oh,
And
see, I don't actually feel that way about this deck. I can get but again, I really don't pull many cards from it when I use
yeah,
it because there is a lot. And also, I just go to the got the message for the card, all that stuff in the beginning that talks about like the deities. Really, I don't get into that. So I
yeah.
kind of let go of all that stuff for now. But I just couldn't imagine with the amount of decks I have that would just be like a straightforward reading for someone else. I'm like, why would I
Yeah.
ever bring
Right.
this one along? So that's my pick, the Pythonic Tarot.
I picked another oracle for this one. And it's the Reclaim.
Oh yeah, good pick.
This deck, when it first came out, I in concept really love it. And I bought a copy for each of my daughters before they left home. I bought the large journal for all of us. I'm well financially invested into this creator and the deck, but I feel like to read for someone else, it's not something, I don't want to go to that. I feel like this deck feels like a personal journey that someone
Yeah.
ought to be having or working through, and perhaps even with a therapist,
Yes.
because
I think she says that in the guidebook too.
yeah, it just dives in to a point where I wouldn't want to be doing that, like opening up anything for a person that they weren't ready for, because
Yes.
when it sometimes doesn't read particularly well for me. But when it does, it's really opening up things that I really was not aware of, you know, like what, like really good shadow, you know, and the fact that I'm like, wait, what? You know?
Yes.
And sometimes I wonder, you know, I think that it's not reading that well. Like maybe I'm just not even at a point where I can even acknowledge that for myself or even in that space, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely would not, even if somebody asked, I'd be like, no, you know,
yeah,
too personal. It's
yes,
way
good
too
pick
personal.
for sure. Okay, so next we have, what deck would you never use for yourself? Now, this was an interesting question.
Yeah.
And so I went with a deck that actually you gave to me that I haven't used for myself. I've only used to read for other people, and it has worked so well, like so incredibly well reading for others that
what deck is it?
It's almost like I built that relationship with it, so I don't feel drawn to use it for myself. And it is the Inkwitch Tarot.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is actually kind of my example where for me this one is such a clear reader, and I love the artwork. I really do. But I don't feel drawn to use it for myself. But as soon as I'm doing a reading for someone else, this is the one I think of. I'm like, oh, I gotta get that one out. And I don't know why. But it feels a little bit approachable, I guess. Like when someone else is looking at the images, there's nothing, well, besides like that. There's otherwise nothing really in this deck that is like super alarming or off-putting. And I also feel like it gives a lot of openness for intuitive reading, which I really like. And so, yeah, I think it's purely because I hadn't read for myself with it, and then I read for other people with it, that it's just, we built this relationship where it's like, okay, you're not a deck for me, but you're here so that I can read for other people with you.
That's
you know?
cool. I can see that too, that deck would have that place.
Yeah, and I really I get, not that I do readings for other people very often, but like I get so excited to use this deck because it has such a magical feel. I love it. But yeah, it really only comes out for others. That is the Inkwitch Tarot.
My pick is the Crystal Unicorn. Because this is my son John's deck that I use only for readings with him. He will come in and ask for a reading, and he'll go, and he's like, Mom, can I have a reading? And I say, sure. Is there something specific on your mind? He's like, no, just to check in. And then I say, okay, pick any deck, and like sweep my hand over the hundreds of possibilities. And every single time he picks this deck.
I love that.
It must speak to him in a certain, like, I don't know that he has particular fondness for unicorns. He hasn't mentioned it in any other realm of his life. But it's so gentle, you know, and that's how I like to always keep his readings too. Like there's enough emotional garbage for a 14-year-old autistic child in high school. And so I like to keep his readings fairly light. It's interesting when it comes into like, it always seems to more recently come in about his feelings on his love life. So that's kind of interesting to read, but I'm always like try and end it like quite positive. And this deck is, you know, like with something he can do or learn or some actionable thing that he can take with him. Yeah. And this deck is fantastic for it, where it kind of gives that in the guidebook. And sometimes I'll read the guidebook, you know, and its voice is just kind of not like a hug, like it's not saying what you need to hear, but like it says it in, you know, a way that you can do something about it, you know, or in a positive way, like you got this, you know, which is just, yeah. So this is I wouldn't use it for myself because it's John's deck. And he was so thrilled that when I went to Newt's, Pamela Chen signed the guidebook to him. And
Oh,
he was so thrilled, like,
that is
and
so cool.
excited. Yeah. So that's cool to hear. Little,
Awesome.
yeah. So
That
he
is
loves it
so
even
cool.
more. Yeah. And he even said to me when I'm like, so when I'm rehoming decks, he's like, you'd never get rid of that one, would you? You know, because we're going to keep that one. And I'm like, yeah, that one's never going anywhere. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's such a good answer. I love that one. All right. Number 18. What deck could you not bring yourself to buy?
I should make you show my not buy it. Because you have it.
Do I have it?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, I'd have to think a second on that one.
It's the deck that I sometimes say the wrong name and like say, I'm going to use this deck. But then I don't actually have the deck and I'm talking about a different deck. You get all excited.
Oh my gosh. Should I actually show?
Yeah.
Let's do yours first because I know exactly what it is.
And I got so close. Yep. And I got so close a few weeks ago. I almost did it. And then a few people have been showing it again on TarotTube. And I'm like, oh, just no.
But it's so
good. Love it. It's not so good.
It's
like there's so much depth. The color palette is the cards don't even make sense to me. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I can't.
It's one, you gotta have it. You gotta have it to experience it.
I don't know.
I peer pressure.
And that's why I've gotten so close so many times. But I just can't bring myself to buy it because I don't know. Because like aesthetically, it's not something I mind. You know what I mean? It's just not speaking to me.
Someday,
who knows? Like that day, you're gonna be so excited, and it's so funny
excited.
because I always get that deck and the Hidden Realms confused in my mind, like the names of them. So sometimes I'll say to Chris, "Oh, I'm gonna use the Hush Tarot," and she's like, "Oh my god, you got it!" And I'm like, "Oh no, I said the wrong name again."
I get so excited. Oh, that was a good answer because you really like can't get yourself to buy that one.
No.
Mine is what is it? Oh my gosh, and I can never remember the name of it. The Wandwood Wandwood Oracle. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I have the White Hair Wisdom by the same creator. Now, Secrets of Wandwood. Okay, so that was on Kickstarter, and I was looking, and I loved the artwork, and I don't even remember why I didn't back it on Kickstarter. Who knows?
I think it was the cost. I think it
more expensive. I think it was probably the cost. And so then, since then, I have gotten this deck, which it's a smaller size, and it's on this linen cardstock, which is really nice. And I do really like it. But I don't use it super often because I know it's because it's a small size.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoy it. And it's not a thing of like feeling like, oh, it was just the replacement for the Wandwood. Because by the time I was paying for shipping from the UK, I should have just gotten the Wandwood if that's what I wanted. Like I did want this one. I don't really know what the holdup has been about Secrets of Wandwood. I think it's just a thing of like it really gets into this special world that I don't know that even though the cards are different, the keywords are different, I don't know if it would feel that different from this one. And so it's like even though they're like completely different sizes, all that kind of thing, I just can't get myself to feel like I've got two of like a very similar thing, you know? And I do
feel
love
like
this
if the creator was in the US and the shipping didn't add so much to the cost, I feel like you would have every deck of this creator's.
I absolutely would. I think that's the thing too. She just had the Magic Cottage up too, and I passed on that one as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it's that shipping I think just adds that extra. And we have said this before, like there's more hesitation with paying that extra with oracles rather than tarot. If it were a tarot deck, you probably would have taken the leap too. But the fact that it's an oracle and it's that expensive and it's the time too, you got to wait a little bit. Like it's got a lot of elements working against it, you know?
Yeah. And you're definitely right. Because I feel like when it comes to indie decks, not or tarot decks. I mean, typically I tend to really enjoy indie decks more, but like when it comes to Oracle, there are so many mass market oracles that I love that it's harder for me to like pay the indie price for it, because I'm like, well, but I've got like these mass market oracles that I like really work for me. But
actually,
yeah,
this
that's my
last
one.
year, the mass market oracles have been on point,
On
right?
point. Yeah. On point. We've been loving them. So that is my what I can't bring myself to buy. It's a Secrets of Wanwood. But the next question is, what's your favorite pip deck?
I feel like we picked the same one.
I don't think we did. I actually know. I know we didn't. But I think
really, I don't have you.
No, but I think what you picked is probably what was my really, really close second.
Okay.
It just was a matter of what have I been using more recently. Mine's the Black Salt Tarot.
Oh yeah, of
which this is my prototype.
I feel like
version.
if these questions had been like a few months ago, mine would have been on your list. But that Black Salt was a surprise. That could have been a surprise to you too, because it's like you love that deck.
I really do. And I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily a surprise. I guess it was in terms of like I've never had a deck that was sort of like more pared down like this one is.
I feel like it was a surprise to me how much you like how often you use it, and because that would typically be more my style. That really, with lots of generally white space, the simple images.
Yes, but this one it just works for me. And I think it's just because, or not just because, but like one of the reasons is that the creator Logan is just so like such a special person. Like when someone is just like, they've got that special energy about them that's like you feel that in this deck. But they also put these really cool sort of not hidden meanings, but it's like if you look at these pips, they each have something special in them that brings you to that meaning in such a cool, unique way. And it doesn't feel like any other deck I have. And I think that's also what I really enjoy about it. And it's got a special shuffling experience because of the size of the cards. The whole thing of using this deck is just, I love it so much. So that is my favorite pip deck right now. That's the Black Salt Tarot.
And mine is, do you want to say? I know you know what it is.
I'm currently, is it the Taroki by Mr. Freiburg? I love that deck.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like, the only thing I wish is initially it was going to have pink backs, and they went with the kind of bluey.
But if you look really close, it does have a light pink tint to it.
Yeah. I just feel like for me, because it has that pink tone to it, like if I could kind of pick myself, it would have this color backs, this color sides, that kind of pink. But still, it's still good because you do get the blues in the background here. But I get excited to use this deck when I want to pull out a pip deck, and using this one makes me excited, and so right now it's definitely a favorite when I want a pip deck.
And that deck paired with the book, what is it called? I've got it right here. Cartomancy and Folk Witchcraft. To me, those became such a pairing, and I love using them together.
And that book is like,
the book is so
look
good.
Like the cover and the title don't look like it would be that good, but it's such a relatable, book. And to tear the deck, like you say, it's like a match made in heaven. It's so good. So
good pick. Oh, I love that one. That was a really, really close second. All right. Number 20. What deck slaps you with the truth? For me, that is the 5-cent tarot. This one is so actually, and this one was also a pick to show the gilding because it's got that really good gilding. It's such a good quality. These are some of my favorite backs. And I have been loving this deck, but it is so mean to me. Like so intensely mean to me. This is the first deck I actually have been shuffling reversals into, because it does have the keywords on both sides. So it's the kind of deck where it's telling you what it's telling you. Like, you pull the cards and you're reading the keywords that are there, and you just have to take it for what it is. Like, it really feels like, I don't know, it's a truth teller like no other deck I have, because doesn't give you the room for interpretation. You know what I mean?
You're like, yeah, but you don't really mean that. And it's like, literally, I've just said the word to you.
Right. Like, if I'm pulling the Ace of Cups reversed, I'm not having the option to look at creativity. I'm having to look at rejection. Right. You know, like, there's no option. Which is like, I really do love this deck for that, though, because I don't have anything else that does that. And so when I really need to just be told like it is, this one's gonna do it, and I know it. And it's just a good shuffling experience. I don't know, it's just a really good quality deck, and I've been loving it recently. As mean as it's been, it's just been such a fun and different kind of deck to use. So that is my deck that slaps me with the truth. That's the 5-cent tarot.
Well, I picked an oracle, one that I made myself. I have to feel your chakras. I have the original version here. It just slaps you with the truth. That's it.
I was hoping you would pick that one, because that
was
my other one.
And it doesn't apologize.
No, I should use that with this deck.
Yeah, it just it's not very, I don't know. It's like a friend that'll tell you the truth, but then you're like, how could you say that? And they're like, because I'm your friend. I got it. Who else is going to tell you? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, but this is, and it's like, I feel like I feel like this when other people use the deck and it's mean to them, I'm like, I'm so sorry, because I feel like it's my voice saying it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've just said it to someone,
right. I totally get that.
Like, and yeah, so this is definitely my slap you with the truth, because it doesn't mince words. It just says it like it is. That's it.
It really does. But in the way you need, like, it's always the deck I pull out when I'm like, I can't even think about what's going on here. Like, I just don't understand. So I just need to be told.
Yeah.
Good pick. We're down to our last question.
Oh, yay. We did really good for time, too.
We did. I'm pretty impressed. So number 21 is, what's the deck that got away? And I actually don't think you would guess this one, because I don't think I've talked about it. Probably because I'm just sad I don't have it. And for me, I'm going to see how this goes pulling up. Oh, it's working. Okay. It's the Blood Moon Tarot. So I've got the old Kickstarter campaign up to show the pictures.
What year is the Kickstarter from? How much did you miss out on?
Oh gosh.
I always look at that to see if it could have been on my radar, or like whether it was never, like if it's like 2016, I'm like, oh well, no.
No, it was so it's actually probably directly a year ago now. It was last updated. How do I see when it launched?
I don't know. I don't know.
2018. So it was on Kickstarter. It was on Kickstarter in 2018, which I wouldn't have seen, but there was another pre-order, I want to say, maybe in like 2020.
And have you seen this deck going like on eBay and stuff? And is it
very, very rarely. I feel like it's a deck people have and really love.
Yeah.
So when I've seen it, it's been pretty expensive. But I have a glimmer of hope, because she has like, I don't know if it was on a newsletter or something. She has plans to do another printing. It's just like, when, so it's like, I have a hope that I will have this one day. Yeah, so I wouldn't buy it out of print, because I do like, look at that Lovers card. Oh my gosh. But it's one that it's like, I looked at it and was like, not right now. Yeah. And then I totally missed out on it. Like, I thought I'd be able to get it later, and it's like, I just couldn't. So it really is the only deck where I feel like I truly missed out on it, because it was the only one that it's like, I did really want it and was like saving for later and shouldn't have,
Yeah. And that's
so
just like
that's my
that
pick.
like sometimes when that like FOMO kicks in, or like one, like especially on like Etsy, will get you every time, like 2 more left, and you're like, but what if this is the one that gets away, like that one, you know?
Yes, yeah. And then it just turns out that they like couldn't put as much stock as they have or something. So then it goes, yeah,
they're just playing with us. So I did pick. I actually have 2 for this because I had picked one, and then one got away while I was making the list.
Oh my gosh.
So my one that I can't. It's the Invisible Light Tarot, and I could get it if I wanted to spend $350.
Yep.
I don't want to spend $350 or 300 on our website. I don't want to do that, but I love it so much.
It is a cool one.
So hopefully like, you know, on eBay one will come up eventually, you know, like reasonably priced. If not, it's okay. It's okay. That's, you know, it'll be all right. And look on eBay, oh, it got away. Historical. While I was making the list, I'd like the Amethyst Oracle, because I just got that Phenomena. Is that what it's called? Phenomena one by her. That's
oh yeah.
And I just thought, you know, I would really love this deck, but I think my maximum bid was like $77, and it went for like 136.
Oh wow.
And the way that I do like eBay is I'll just decide what's the maximum price I'm willing to pay, put that in, walk away. You know, so it's not worth to me, it's not worth $130. Maybe someday it will be, but not today.
Yeah.
You know. So it got away for now.
Oh, good answers. Maybe someday we'll have
we're ending on such a sad note.
I know. But that was our last question. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this. This was just as fun, at least for me and you, as we thought it would be. Hopefully this was fun for everyone watching. You'll definitely have to come back on again for some other tag
that'd be fun. It's the only way you'll get me on YouTube. So
yes. Yeah. So yes, everyone, here's my friend Andi, finally. But other than that, that is all we have for you today. So I hope you all have I think I'm gonna put this up today. So I hope you all have a great weekend.